I'm in the same clothes. It's like we just recorded a podcast and we're doing a second one.
We had a little bonus time. Yeah.
Well, one topic led to another. So we thought, let's just capture it while our brains are in. I think this is going to be a topic du jour. That just means topic of the day. So actually, I think it's going to be a topic of the year because I think this is being harped on a lot about in the medias at the moment. Relactation.
I think that you are more Insta savvy than I, shall we say. You and all your TikToky tickety-tock
Well, I'm
business.
not on TikTok no more.
You're
I
not.
was there, but my videos are there if you want to see them. It's like 100 bloody videos. But
I know. Well, yeah, you're all over that. And
I'm all over it. Relactation was a theme,
we
definitely.
each have our strengths, Katie, and yours is knowing what's going on in the media.
Sometimes.
Not only. You have
It's not only that.
a billion.
Dogs, mushrooms, ferns, mosses.
So,
But relactation is a topic I really want us to talk about because actually what I am seeing on the medias is a lot of rubbish in terms of that everyone can relactate. So technically it's bandied out there like if you've ever breastfed, you can relactate at any point in time. And I think we're going to get down to the nitty gritty of, yes, this can absolutely be applicable for some women with some milk supplies. And for others, this is going to depend on what happened in those first few weeks at the beginning. So should we get into the specifics?
New ones, Katie. Yeah, I hear you. Let's get into it. So relactation, firstly, tell me, what does it mean? What are we talking about?
Let's take an example of maybe a mum who had been breastfeeding for, let's say, 4 months, and she decided to go back to work. And she actually had to go back to work full time or more or less full time. And she just thought, oh my goodness me, this is too hard. I'm going to stop breastfeeding. My baby's had enough. I feel ready. Jobs are good. And I'm going to use formula milk and I'm going back to work. All happy as Larry. A couple of weeks later, baby gets bronchitis or sick, maybe has a readmission, and she suddenly thinks, oh my goodness, I actually really want to bring breast milk back into my baby's diet. Can I do this? This is literally plucked from a scenario that I know of, and that's why it's in the forefront of my head. There are many, many scenarios where someone may have given up for a month, 2 months, 5 months, and then want to start breastfeeding again.
I have somebody who, at the moment, I'm working with, who is in a scenario where she was 2 weeks postpartum and had mastitis and was advised by a variety of healthcare professionals to take the particular kind of medication that will shut down your milk supply. And this was the...
Oh my God! Sorry.
I know, I didn't want to tell you that before we started recording. So she took it. Mastitis got better. Now she's really, really sad that she's not able to breastfeed when it is the thing that she had really wanted to do. And at that point in time, she was really vulnerable. She also had a uterine infection. It was all a mess. So now we are working on, to a degree and nuance, as we're going to go into, we're working towards relactation together. And again, it's one of these, like, I'm just going to hold space for you first, my love. Like, let's just sit together. Tell me what's been going on, because holy cow, that was very hard. Yeah.
Bless her. Oh my God, I'm just so in shock that that is still being done. I cannot, honestly, I'm really shocked that health professionals have given her a medication to stop her milk when she's had mastitis as the option. Okay, that's a whole nother podcast.
But there are a variety of stories.
Okay, knowing the history, knowing the age of the baby, the development of the breast, and the development it went through to produce enough milk. So, to put it in a nutshell, if a mother has built a milk supply and maintained a full milk supply, So she's built that milk supply in the first 2 to 4 weeks, which is what we should be doing. She has then maintained that milk supply because our milk supply sits around the same amount each day from the end of month 1 to about month 6. So if she's been tracking along like that and then made the decision, or it's been made for her, that she stopped breastfeeding, and then a month, 2 months, 3 months down the track, she suddenly realizes she wants to or she needs to bring her milk back in. For those women, this is, simple is the wrong word, but in terms of the protocol, this is the most simplest form of relactation. This is relactation in its meaning. She has developed a full milk supply. She stopped. She wants it again. We reignite everything. We restart lactation. We start breastfeeding. We might have to pump. We have to do something to build the milk supply up again. And then we're maintaining the milk supply. And off they trot, breastfeeding or feeding breast milk in a bottle.
Right, right.
If we have someone who has never got themselves to a full milk supply between 2 and 4 weeks, and then stopped for whatever reason, and then wants to restart, and their aim is to fully breastfeed. Now, that's where we come into a grey area, because absolutely they can restart breastfeeding. They can reignite a lactation supply by pumping, by feeding. Will they ever get to a full supply is a question we can't definitely answer, because at the very beginning, when the baby was born, the placenta was born, when everything needs to be switched on, it was never fully switched on. She never made a full milk supply. So the likelihood of her doing that 4 months, 6 months down the track, having had a pause, is probably much lower. I would never say we would rule out anything for anybody. However, it is very important to be going back when someone comes to you and says, I want to relactate, to have a deep knowledge about the physiology that happens at the beginning, how things switch on and why they switch on at the beginning, and the time frames, what happens in that first 72 hours, the milk receptor sites, switching them on, allowing those milk cells to actually make milk for the future. And if we haven't done that, what that means.
Mm-hmm. And then also being able to have that conversation with her about that expectation about, okay, are you doing this with the goal of getting a full milk supply? If yes, we need to have that conversation. But also if, you know what, my goal is that I just want to make milk, want to make some milk, get some of the good stuff into my bobber, make sure that they are protected over the winter season or while they're having an operation or whatever it may be, then you know what, let's talk to them about how valuable it is if they're making a total of 200 mils a day. And let's also talk about how we can balance that with all of the other aspects of parenting, all of the other aspects of their life, right? Because yay, relactation is a cool concept, but let's look at actually what is your day going to look like? What is the structure going to be when you are committing to relactation? What is that going to look like? Is it feasible for you? Do you feel like it's sustainable for you? What are you going to be having to shuffle around to make this happen?
Oh my God, totally. Totally. So like everything, we can look at the actual kind of science physiology. That is never in separation to the psychology of those two beings together and what's going on. Relactation is not easy. It's like, go back to the triple feeding episode. And in terms of the amount of work, it is intensive. There's a lot of it. And how long can you sustain that? And what's your goal? When would be enough? What are you looking for? And what happens if you don't make a full milk supply? How does that land? How does that feel? If you're listening to this, chances are you are already a skilled, seasoned professional. You can handle most breastfeeding challenges with confidence. But then come those cases. The baby whose latch looks beautiful, but there's no milk transfer. The mum whose nipples keep getting injured and you just can't see why. The infant with no visible tongue tie, yet something is clearly wrong. The cases where you've tried everything you know and still nothing works. And you're left watching families lose hope while you feel professionally stuck. That's exactly why Joe and I created Decoding the Suck, the advanced oral functioning training you should have been given but weren't. Inside, we teach you the clinical skills that most programs skip. How suck actually works, how to assess tone, tension and coordination, how to decode nipple pain and feeding fatigue, and how to use 15 gentle exercises to support better sucking, and how to systematically assess the babies no one else knows how to help. No fluff, just evidence-based tools and real case practice so you walk into tricky consults with calm confidence. If you're ready to become the professional who solves the feeding cases no one else can, join us inside Decoding the Suck at thelatchrevolution.com, and it's your turn to finally say, I know what's going on and I know how to help.
I'm always aware in these podcasts that I always take like a deviation, like we have one topic and it never just stays on the one topic. Katie, I'm terrible at it, but I'm not gonna stop. So what I was gonna say was to make sure that we are also looking at, is this mother's goal to be able to breastfeed? Is it about the act of breastfeeding and not just about the production, the milk production? And if that is the case, then let's also talk to them about at-breast supplementation. And potentially this is something that this person might not have been aware of, for example.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And I think that is so valuable because under the phrase of relactation, it seems very heavily on the milk side of it. And often it is, because often it's started again because of a health need. Um, but actually, that act of feeding at breast can be so important for so many reasons and can feel like such a loss. And I think it's important to know that even if there are very, very small amounts in the breast, babies will nurture themselves, will, if you want to call it, use you like a pacifier.
Ugh.
I did wait for your response.
You mean they will find safety and coziness?
Yeah.
Mhm.
They will use suckling as a way to soothe, connect, communicate, have heartfelt love, smell, touch, taste, sight. So, all the good stuff can happen from being at the breast. And, breast milk, we talk about this all the time, and lots of us do. It's way more than just food. But most women don't know about breast supplementation, like these little supply lines that we can use, which, oh my goodness, how many women have you worked with that maybe have had a first time baby and no one's told them and they've had trouble, and then you kind of introduce this into the ether
Mhm.
and their faces light up with amusement, confusion, fear, and then hope. And for those who take on that on board, yeah, it's a couple of days of like wanting to chuck that bloody thing out the window.
3 feet. 3 feeds of wanting to throw it out the window, and then you've cracked it.
But then that look of like
This could be my answer.
connection back with my baby is just
Right. And
magic.
this is where when I'm doing a relactation consultation, if I think that it would work in the conversation, then we can talk about the fact, like, would it be if you were to make, say, 50% of your baby's milk supply, but all of that was going to be via your breast directly using a supply line with some additional milk, either formula, donor milk, if that was your situation, how would that feel as opposed to potentially you making 75% of your baby's milk supply, but not going to be via your breast? You're going to be pumping, 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 bottle feeding, right? And so talking about like making those kind of decisions and just seeing what feels good for that mum in front of you. Again, just like popping all of these options. No option is better than another, but I just want you to see that there are options that are available. Tell me which one feels good for you.
Yeah. That's what it's about.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay. So, last thing that we should mention probably on this episode, um, induced lactation.
Mhm.
'Cause there's a difference. And again, sometimes I see this in the socials being confused with one another. And there is specifics on when we would use this, how it would be used, and how it's different from relactating. So, Joe,
Yeah.
can you just tell us
Yeah.
what is induced lactation and when might it be needed or wanted?
So, relactation is for somebody who has already been making milk. They are breastfeeding already, then they had a pause, and now they're coming back. Inducing lactation is for somebody who has never breastfed, who has never lactated, and or let's say has never lactated for that specific baby, and they are wanting to be able to start to lactate, wanting to be able to make milk. So, for example, um, I have not done this very frequently at all. I don't think it comes up a lot. I'd say probably 3 times in my decade or so of work, where I have somebody who is planning to adopt a newborn, and they would love to be able to breastfeed. And they are aware of all of the other benefits of having the baby at the breast, but they also would love to be able to make some milk for this baby. And then we can look at what kind of protocol. I don't think we need to go into the full protocol. You can just Google that. um, keeping your mouth shut. Very good. But it is, there are specific kind of steps that you can take that are before the baby comes, and then how we kind of switch that over after the baby comes. And this is a way that we can get some milk happening. Whether or not this person is going to be making a full milk supply, I mean, we can't say absolutes at all, but I think chances are low that it's going to be a full milk supply. Chances are very high that there is going to be some milk supply. How much? We don't know until we're in it.
And this also might depend on when they choose to start. So, say the baby is coming in 1 month, or they're already starting at 6 months prior.
Yes.
So, it's a hormone based medication regime. I'm going to
Mhm.
go into that much detail.
Uh-huh.
And then it's an extracting milk regime with a pump usually, and then the baby would be there as well. So it's all this preparation, and it's kind of faking a pregnancy with
Exactly.
hormones, and then faking a birth in a way by immediately stopping fake, well, call it real, but pregnancy hormones that we've given by tablet, not a pregnancy. Does this make sense?
Mhm.
And
Doing great.
stopping that immediately and creating the hormones that would be circulating, like prolactin, once the baby and the placenta had been birthed. So that's what this whole protocol does. And so sometimes we have a long time to work with someone to fake a pregnancy, and sometimes we don't. And we don't really have enough research because there's not a lot of this being done. We don't really know what specifics are going to make a higher milk supply. Also, everyone's different. Also, it's hard work pumping day and night when there's not even a baby there yet, as can be the case sometimes. But I think it's what was really important for us was just to distinguish between the differences of relactation and inducing lactation.
I think that these two things are often put together. And I think really the only reason that I can think of is that they tend to involve like a pretty strict regimen for like you need to follow this plan and get milk in some way, right? But they're two very, very different scenarios. And both of them, as usual with all of this work, require nuance and require us sitting with the woman and seeing how they feel about all of these options that we're providing.
And also not getting lost in just the milk, as you beautifully mentioned earlier. It may be about connection and feeding at the breast. And that may be actually what they're looking for. But if we haven't opened up that conversation, we'll never know. We might miss the point. And then they're being kind of flogged on this regime that can end and lead in exhaustion. So just being careful and knowing what the differences are, what they involve, and also looking at the greater outcome of all the potentials kind of in our heads as we sit and listen and allow for this conversation to unfold, I think is the important thing.
Absolutely.
Marvelous. Thanks for
Great.
that.
Thanks, Katie.
Before you dash, a quick invite. Our new pro course, Decoding the Suck, is open. Think practical skills for tricky feeds, taught without the fluff. And if you're a midwife, doula, or anyone who just loves lactation, or maybe you're a mum-to-be or a new parent, Katie has more courses waiting for you. All the deets, find them in the show notes. And whilst you're there, please do all those podcasty things. Follow, 5-star it, and of course share it with a colleague. We'll catch you on the next drop.